Who are you?
That's a great question. Wow, very Zen-like of you, Rod. Who are you and why are you here?
Mike Sliwa is a writer, director, producer, and former teacher. He is also an actor who's on our web series, CUPIC, Diary of an Investigator. We recently had a sit-down with Mike as he talked to us about who he is and his latest endeavors.
I am a former high school teacher professionally. I'm married. I am attempting to be a homesteader, which means someone who learns how to grow their own food and rely less on the stores and live a little more independently. Chasing a Different Carrot is really a blog that I started, which eventually became a TED Talk and then a book, influenced by the choices my wife and I have made over the last 6 years, really, to leave our teaching careers behind, to pursue a set of living arrangements where we learn how to grow our own food, raise our own food, build our own structures, and live in a community more than living in a neighborhood.
Mike talked more about what led them to take this journey.
We left our jobs in late May of 2011, and we decided to go and work on people's properties who were already doing the things we wanted to do and learn from them. So we kind of provided the heavy lifting, so to speak, and we would learn how to grow food and build things and be a little more self-sufficient from folks who were already doing it, who just needed an extra hand. And so we did it for room and board.
Mike has been busy, and he shared with us what he's been up to.
Plenty. I'm not exactly sure when we talked last, but I moved on. My wife and I moved into an intentional community. We live in a yurt, it's really technically a Mongolian ger, and it's a round structure that came from Mongolia, and we got it from a guy who worked in the Peace Corps. And it's a structure that's about 9 feet tall in the center, and it's 19 feet in diameter, 284 square feet. And we've been living in that for 3 years, and we recently moved it onto a property which is commonly known as an intentional community. And that means a bunch of folks got together to live intentionally, not necessarily, I bought a house in a neighborhood and everybody else just happened to live there, but we kind of all choose to live on a piece of property in individual dwellings, but on purpose, really with intent. And so the last 15 months we've been living there, trying to establish some gardens this spring and get ourselves a little more settled in. It started to roll really off my teaching career because obviously that's what I did for a living. I would stand up in front of people and speak. And eventually we started, my colleagues and I, to become a little more socially conscious because of the responsibility of being a teacher. And we kind of delved out into other aspects, dealing with systemic issues, institutional issues like racism and patriarchy, and really started to get some speaking gigs out of that because we were speaking to young people. So we started running camps based on those particular injustices, and eventually got individual speaking gigs for the county, Maricopa County here in Phoenix, which eventually kind of led to some TEDx talks that I did, one at Arizona State University and another one at the University of Nottingham in Great Britain. And it's branched out from there. I had a former student who started a speaking organization called Truality, where we would go into schools and really listen to students tell their own story and then see if we could connect with them on a level to make their story a little more, smoother, and their journey a little more smoother through the educational system and their life in general. So that's really what I've been doing the last couple of years, and that has evolved into a project which my former student started, Julia Garcia, and it's called the Rewrite Project. So that'll be kind of a spin-off of Truality, where we work with students trying to help them rewrite their story to make more positive impacts in their own lives and in the larger world.
Mike talks about his new book and what's next.
I wrote Chasing a Different Carrot. I started this book probably around 2008, 2009, near the end of my teaching career. And it's changed several times, a lot of rewrites, a lot of additions to it, a lot of things that I took out. And I submitted a manuscript to a publisher about a year ago, and it finally came out end of December. It's not perfect, still got some errors and things in it, but I'm happy with the way it looks and the way it's being received, which is the most important thing to me. And it's really a combination of my story and how I went from, being somebody who was pretty oblivious to social and environmental issues to being somebody who was writing and speaking about them and hopefully taking some action in my own personal life and doing something about it. And so that's really, the book is that journey and what other people can do to do something outside of the mainstream instead of chasing the carrot, which is usually money or status or a career, to chase something else, because those things necessarily don't mean happiness. And so it's really about, instead of making a living, trying to actually live. And what does that mean for each of us individually? And so I'm pretty happy with it. I'm currently doing a podcast that I've been doing for 2 years. I'm a co-host on Nature Bats Last and the Progressive Radio Network, and I write for the Good Men Project. I do a weekly piece, and it's about everything, environmental issues, social issues, personal issues. And so that kind of keeps me going. And I'm working on hopefully a short film here with you where we can explore some of the things that I write about and talk about and use your expertise to bring it to a screen eventually someday. And so those are the things I'm doing now, what would be quote unquote a professional level. As far as the way my life is going, I'm trying to get some gardens started, trying to build some more structures on the property that I currently live on, and really trying to be a better community member, because I live in an incredible community amongst people who are really wise. And I'm just trying to sit back and absorb and partake in probably the best moments of my life up to this point.